Welcome back to our online audience here at London Calling. I hope you've been following all the talks all day and you're surely ready to hear Clive Brown, our CTO, do our tech update in a few minutes' time. But in the meantime, I'm joined here in the studio with Abdul, Sesay, who's here from the MRC unit in Gambia, and Rich Scott, who's here from Genomics England. So, had a good day?
Brilliant.
Thank you, very fantastic. So I've got a question for you, Rich. So you are a medic as well as being in genomics leadership. So of all of the talks you've seen and the science you've seen today, what's most exciting to you with your medic hat on?
I think there have been so many good talks, and actually the diversity of the talks, some of those that are the furthest from medicine, I've actually been really inspired by. But from a medical point of view, I really enjoyed Hanley G's talk. So this is his Stanford group, using single-cell sequencing to really dissect what's going on in tumours, and also even doing single-cell sequencing on some engineered mutations. And I just really loved the way they were dissecting some of the biology there, being really creative with the technology.
Oh, cool. And did you see Billy Lau's talk in his group around the single, around the liquid biopsy talk as well?
Yeah, I did. I loved it.
Really exciting work coming out of Stanford. And so the Gambia, tell me, you've got a particular sort of environment that you're trying to build capacity in the Gambia. I know you have an interest in pathogen genomics from COVID, but you've done an amazing work in maternal health as well. I have a question for you. What's the important aspects of building a local capacity and local sequencing capacity in terms of running out your science programs?
I think COVID actually has been an opportunity to show that you need to build local capacity to do sequencing, and really you need to respond in real time, especially when we're talking about outbreak. You can't send sample away, and in fact when people start closing borders, it's even more important for you to have the capacity, and you need to be prepared to be able to respond to any outbreak or any like the pandemic. So it's been very, very important. And what
about this sort of more human genomics applications when we're out of sort of emergency mode and you're doing full research and translational research? How important is it to you to embed the technology in the community?
I think it's really very, very important that you engage community in terms of trying to do genomics, and especially in our area where resources are really quite limited. But in fact, we still need to be able to do we talk about maybe personalized medicine, but personal medicine in our region might mean AMR, whether you respond to a particular antibiotics or not. So, and in our setting, it's even more important that you have the facility to do genomics and to decipher whether a particular drug will work or not work, because it saves life. Any delay in getting that done actually would mean somebody losing their life.
Interesting. So these are implementation questions really, aren't they? And Rich, we were talking earlier, obviously Genomics England is expert in rolling out genomics in the UK NHS environment, but how do you have conversations with colleagues from many different regions? What are the differences in implementations that you have to bear in mind when you're doing your work and your colleagues are doing their work?
I think often the sorts of question that one encounters working, it's one of the great privileges for me in the work at Genomics England is that partnership with the NHS, with its national scope, but also because of that local implementation, thinking through the individual questions about, for example, in the 100,000 Genomes project, working through with each of the sites how you get samples of the right quality, fresh frozen samples that will sequence well, thinking about, is there a freezer on the right floor? What shift pattern do the staff work who are going to be looking after those samples? And really thinking through those individual questions. And with our cancer long read program, so again a partnership with the NHS using Nanopore, really one of the attractions of that program and of the technology is us being able to have those machines closer to the patient, and then thinking through again some of those implementation questions about how you run things in the lab, but also particularly thinking about the data flows, making sure you get the benefits of that more distributed sequencing to help with turnaround times and so on, but also you think about how you retain the benefits of unified approaches to bioinformatics and have that single pipeline that gives you that data consistency.
So that all sounds like infrastructure questions. We've got skills questions as well. And I know obviously you think about capacity building in the Gambia, and skills must be part of that. So from the technology aspect, what are you hoping that Clive will talk about tonight that will affect the ability to bring technology to people in a way that makes it easier for them to reproduce the kind of work that, that we've just been talking about? Okay,
I mean, really one of the exciting talk that we just had this afternoon is about the work that's going to happen in UAE. Really, I mean, we're talking the diversity in Africa in terms of population, what you could do, diversity in pathogens that we get in the region. It would be really good for us to have a conversation, or Clive announcing, doing maybe not similar work, but an introductory work in terms of trying to increase the number of genomes using long read in our region. So that would be exciting, whether how you can achieve that, whether in terms of infrastructure support going forward. That would be really exciting to hear.
So building bigger data sets for populations in Africa, as have been done around the world in other regions. Great.
I think that I'm very, very envious of what they achieve in Genomic England, and I think if we could do, and we have the diverse population, so, and if you want to actually look at reference genome, and again, working in NHS, whether you need African genome, even in the NHS, because people will come and get treated in the NHS in the country. So if it's not me, it might be our politician. So it's actually important to have reference genome that represents Africa, that you could see if they got disease that you might be able to treat. You have a good reference for it.
Got it. Yeah. So I'm hearing that you think we need to think about high output data, but in an accessible way where that can be embedded in local populations more easily.
Absolutely.
That, surrounded by data and skills, we would certainly see what we can do about that, and I'm sure Clive will be talking about that tonight. So you both have a maternal health thread to your programs, don't you? Are you have you been discussing that between yourselves?
I think you just, I mean, really the great thing about being in a meeting like this is that you can meet colleagues and the networking part. So we've just had a conversation because you introduced us, and I think we will continue this conversation because actually we just realized that we have really lots of common thing. I think where he did some of his training, I also did my training there many years back. So there is really the connection. Science brings that to us. And I think the conversation about having this kind of meeting, it means that there's a lot of people you can actually interact with and think of answers for questions that we all have. Maternal health issue is worldwide. It's even more diverse and adverse in our continent. And thinking of what we do preterm birth, it's something that's really very important. The research around preterm birth is something he's doing, and it'll be very interesting to share either technology, platform, protocols, and that we could be able to implement in our setting.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really sorry. I think we're going to have to wrap up because I think Clive's walk-on music is being warmed up for us all. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today. One of the things that really excites us here is when people get together at the water cooler and start collaborating, because that's how we've got this far, isn't it? So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.